If you think silence always means disinterest, this video is about to make you uncomfortable because sometimes the space she creates isn't distance, it's fear. Listen carefully. One of the biggest lies men are taught about women is this: if she pulls back, she doesn't care. That belief has ruined more potential connections than rejection ever has. Because avoidance and fear look identical on the surface, but psychologically, they are opposites. And most men never learn how to tell the difference. When a woman is avoiding you because she's uninterested, her energy disappears cleanly. No confusion, no emotional residue, no tension. But when she's scared of falling for you, the withdrawal is messy, inconsistent, charged. She doesn't disappear. She destabilizes. One day she's warm, open, even vulnerable. The next, she goes quiet, short replies, delayed responses, emotional breaks slammed without warning. And that inconsistency, that's not a lack of attraction. That's attraction colliding with fear. Here's the psychological truth most men never hear. Attraction threatens control. And women, especially emotionally intelligent ones, value emotional control deeply. When a man enters her nervous system in a way she didn't plan for, her first instinct isn't to lean in, it's to protect herself, not from you, but from what she feels when she's around you. She starts noticing how easily you affect her mood, how your presence lingers after conversations end, how she replays your words when she's alone. That loss of emotional neutrality is terrifying because falling for someone means surrendering predictability. It means risk. And the stronger the pull, the stronger the internal resistance. So what does fear look like in real behavior? She might suddenly become busy right after a deep emotional moment. Not before, after. That's critical. She opens up, shares something personal, laughs freely, and then vanishes for hours or days. That's not manipulation. That's emotional whiplash. Her mind is trying to regain balance after feeling too exposed. You'll also notice she tests distance instead of closeness. She doesn't ask for reassurance directly. Instead, she creates space and watches what you do. Do you panic? Do you chase? Do you collapse emotionally, or do you stay grounded, calm, self-contained? To her subconscious, your response answers a dangerous question. If I fall for him, will I lose myself, or will I feel safe? Here's where most men fail. They interpret her withdrawal as rejection and overcorrect. They explain, they chase, they demand clarity, and in doing so, they confirm her fear. That emotional closeness with you comes with pressure, instability, or loss of autonomy. Her nervous system says, see, this is why I pulled back. A woman who is scared of falling doesn't need convincing. She needs safety. Emotional safety is not created by words. It's created by consistency without pursuit, presence without pressure, strength without detachment. When you remain steady while she fluctuates, something powerful happens inside her. Her fear loses leverage. Another overlooked sign? She watches you more than she talks to you. She notices how you treat others, how you handle frustration, how you respond when things don't go your way. This isn't casual observation, it's subconscious vetting. Because if she's going to risk emotional attachment, she needs proof that you're regulated, not reactive. And here's the hardest truth to accept. Her fear is a compliment, not a problem. You didn't trigger avoidance because you lacked value. You triggered it because you had impact. You mattered enough to disrupt her internal equilibrium. But impact alone isn't enough. The men who win here are not the ones who push harder. They are the ones who remain centered, who don't punish her for pulling back, who don't reward fear with desperation, who understand that attraction doesn't grow in pursuit, it grows in emotional contrast. There's a moment most men miss, the exact point where fear replaces desire as the dominant emotion in her body. It happens quietly. No announcement, no dramatic shift, just a subtle tightening inside her that says, this is getting real. And when that moment arrives, her behavior changes. Not because attraction fades, but because the stakes suddenly feel too high. Here's the psychological mechanism at work. When a woman starts to imagine you in her future, even unconsciously, her brain scans for risk. Emotional risk, identity risk, loss of control risk. She's no longer evaluating who you are. She's evaluating what she might lose if she lets herself feel more. Independence, emotional safety, the version of herself that feels contained and protected. That's when fear steps in as a defense, disguised as distance. So she might slow the pace, not end it, slow it. She replies, but not with the same openness. She still engages, but with less vulnerability. This isn't disinterest, it's emotional braking. Her nervous system is trying to reduce intensity without severing connection. Think of it like easing off the gas instead of slamming the brakes. And here's something crucial. Fear-driven withdrawal is selective. She doesn't withdraw from everyone. She withdraws from you. She may still be social, active, even cheerful with others. That contrast confuses men. They think, if she's scared, why is she fine everywhere else? Because you're the stimulus. You're the variable that changed her emotional baseline. Another sign men misread is her sudden return to logic. She becomes analytical, practical. She talks about timing, circumstances, life complications. This isn't coincidence, it's protection. Logic is how the mind regains control when emotions start to feel overwhelming. She's not rejecting the connection. She's trying to explain it away so she doesn't have to feel it so deeply. And then there's the push-pull. 1 step closer, 2 steps back. Warmth followed by coolness. Interest followed by restraint. This isn't a game, it's internal conflict. Desire pulls her toward you. Fear pulls her away. The result is inconsistency. And the stronger the desire, the sharper the swing. What most men don't realize is this. How you respond during this phase determines everything. Fear tests stability. When she pulls back, she's unconsciously asking, will he lose his center when I create distance? Or will he remain the same man I felt safe with before? If you react emotionally, questioning, accusing, demanding clarity, you transform her fear into proof. Proof that closeness equals pressure, that attraction equals emotional cost. Her mind says, I knew it. This is why I can't fall. But if you remain steady, present without pursuit, warm without intensity, you create something rare, emotional permission. You show her that connection with you doesn't require self-abandonment, that she can come closer without being consumed. This is where masculine restraint becomes magnetic, not silence, not withdrawal, restraint. You don't overinvest to fill the space she created. You don't disappear to punish her. You continue living your life with the same grounded energy she was drawn to in the first place. That consistency is regulating. It calms her nervous system more than reassurance ever could. And here's a truth few men are prepared to hear. You can't talk a woman out of fear. Fear dissolves through experience, not explanation. She needs to feel that you are safe over time, that you don't change under emotional pressure, that your value doesn't spike or collapse based on her behavior. When that happens, something subtle shifts. Her fear stops being about you and starts being about herself. Why am I holding back from something that feels right? That internal question is powerful, and it only emerges when you stop chasing certainty and start embodying stability. Here's where the dynamic turns dangerous for most men, not because of her behavior, but because of the story they tell themselves about it. When fear is in the driver's seat, men often assume they need to do more, say more, prove more, show more interest, but psychologically that instinct works against you. When a woman is scared of falling for you, her emotional system is already overstimulated. She doesn't need intensity, she needs regulation. And regulation doesn't come from effort. It comes from presence that doesn't ask for anything in return. This is why the men who seem to do nothing often win. They're not passive, they're anchored. They don't react to every shift in her mood. They don't chase emotional reassurance. They don't demand clarity before it's ready to exist. Their inner world stays intact regardless of what she's doing. And that stability becomes the very thing her nervous system starts craving. Understand this. Fear of falling is fear of losing self-control. So when she sees that you have self-control, emotional, behavioral, psychological, it creates contrast. She begins to associate closeness with calm instead of chaos. You'll notice she starts circling back, casually, indirectly, a message that doesn't ask much, a reaction to something you post, a light check-in that pretends to be nothing. This isn't coincidence. It's her testing the emotional temperature. Is it still safe? Did I damage it? Is he still grounded? And here's where masculine composure matters more than attraction ever did. If you respond with subtle warmth, not excitement, not resentment, you reinforce safety. You don't interrogate her absence. You don't reward it either. You treat her return as normal, not monumental. That tells her something powerful. Connection with you doesn't come with emotional debt. Another misunderstood sign of fear is her reluctance to define things. Men often think labels create security. For a woman who's scared, labels create pressure. Defining the connection makes it real, and reality forces commitment, vulnerability, and risk. So she keeps things undefined while emotionally invested. That's not manipulation. That's self-protection. The key is this: don't push structure onto something that's still stabilizing. Structure too early feels like a cage. Freedom with consistency feels like safety. There's also something happening internally that men never see. When she pulls away and you don't chase, her mind fills the silence, not with doubt, but with comparison. She notices that other connections feel noisy, needy, demanding, and yours feels steady, clean, grounded. The absence of pressure becomes its own form of intimacy. This is when fear slowly transforms into curiosity. Why am I thinking about him more when he's not pushing? Why do I feel calmer instead of abandoned? Why does his stability feel different from everyone else's intensity? That shift is critical because curiosity opens the door fear was guarding. But make no mistake, this phase tests your ego. You won't get immediate validation. You won't get certainty. You won't get control. You'll get ambiguity. And how you handle that ambiguity is the final filter. Men who need reassurance fail here. Men who need dominance fail here. Men who need outcomes fail here. The man who succeeds is the one who knows who he is without her response confirming it. That's why this dynamic is less about dating and more about identity. She's not just deciding whether to let you in, she's deciding whether she can be herself with you. Whether proximity to you amplifies her life or destabilizes it. And the paradox is this: the less you try to secure her feelings, the safer she feels exploring them. At some point, fear reaches a crossroads. It can't hide behind distance forever. Either it hardens into permanent avoidance or it softens into courage. And what decides that outcome is not what you say to her, but who you remain while she's afraid. Here's the truth most men never hear. A woman doesn't fall in love when she feels overwhelmed. She falls when she feels safe enough to surrender control. And safety is not created by chasing, proving, or waiting. It's created by emotional leadership. Emotional leadership means you don't let her fear set the tone of your identity. You don't become colder to protect your ego, and you don't become louder to pull her back. You stay congruent, the same man she felt drawn to before fear entered the picture. That consistency is rare, and rarity creates value. When fear starts losing its grip, you'll notice subtle shifts. She becomes more present, not dramatically, naturally. She asks questions that reach deeper. She remembers small details. She starts sharing parts of herself she previously guarded. These aren't accidents. These are signs that her nervous system is relaxing around you. But here's where men often sabotage everything. They interpret her return as a green light to accelerate, to lock it down, to finally get certainty. And in doing so, they reawaken the very fear that was dissolving. Think of trust like a muscle. It strengthens through steady exposure, not sudden pressure. When you allow the connection to deepen organically without forcing definition or outcome, you communicate something profound. I'm not afraid of time. I'm not afraid of losing you. I trust who I am. That confidence does something powerful. It shifts the power dynamic, not over her, but within her. She stops asking, "Is this safe?" and starts asking, "Why do I feel safe here?" And that question changes everything, because once a woman associates you with emotional peace, she doesn't need to be chased. She moves toward you on her own, not out of urgency, not out of fear, but out of desire. And desire chosen freely is stronger than desire extracted through effort. Now understand this clearly. Not every woman who pulls back is scared of falling. Some are simply unavailable. The difference is revealed over time. Fear softens in the presence of stability. Disinterest hardens regardless of it. Your job is not to diagnose her. It's to remain yourself long enough for the truth to surface. And here's the final psychological edge most men miss. You are not here to be chosen by avoiding self-abandonment. You are here to be choosable because you never abandon yourself in the first place. If she comes closer, you welcome her without pedestal or resentment. If she doesn't, you don't collapse. You continue forward with the same grounded direction. That posture alone separates men who are tolerated from men who are deeply desired, because a woman who is scared of falling isn't looking for perfection. She's looking for emotional gravity, someone whose center doesn't shift based on her fear, someone who doesn't need her to be brave for him to be stable. And when she finally realizes that closeness to you doesn't cost her freedom, but actually expands it, that's when fear stops running the show. That's when she chooses. So here's my question for you, and answer it honestly in the comments. When she pulled back, did you try to secure her feelings, or did you stay rooted in your own? If this gave you clarity, like the video, subscribe for deeper psychological truths, and share this with a friend who needs to hear it, because most men are never taught this, and it changes everything.